All right.
All right, so
Sorry. Go
I'm
ahead.
now. No, it's okay. That's good. You gave me a chance to get myself organized here. So I'm now finally going to discuss what we promised to talk about 20 minutes ago. I'm sorry. I wanted to give people hopefully something simpler to look at because what we're going to look at now utilizes several things out of SSK, and I'm not going to give you exactly how each piece works. I'm going to walk you through it quickly, and people can look at this example. All the code's here. It's straightforward. They just need to read it. So what do we want to do? The first thing we want to do before we deal with buttons and keeping track of what the button state was last time is we need to find some way to save data persistently. So one of the things that most people do, what I do, is I keep in my games a table of settings for the games. Like, is the volume on? What's the volume level? Is it 50%, 100%? How many coins do they have? What's the user's name? What's the email that they put in for whatever? If I use emails in my game or app, I've got tables, one or more tables that keep data in them. So ideally, I could save this table to the what I'll call the disk, persistent storage, and then later, sometime later when the game or app is restarted, I would be able to read that table in off the disk. We'll just call it the disk for now, and then have all the settings that were previously set in the last session. So how would we accomplish this? Well, there's many, many ways, and in fact, there has been more than one blog post and more than one forums post on this. Rob has done a great example in a prior blog post last year or the year before, and then I started using Corona in 2012, and they were different examples at the time, so I based my own code off of what somebody else did. In fact, if you look hard, you'll see this stuff is not Corona specific at all. You can find examples in the Lua PIL and some other locations. There's Lua archives. So let's just go ahead and do it. I'm going to walk you through this code and tell you what it does, and then I will show you some of the code behind it. So in main Lua, there's a function called test extended table. If I run it, as I do below on line 42, what it's going to do is it's going to call this function load, which is attached to table. Now this doesn't exist as part of Corona. This is an extension that I wrote. And it says find a file called mysettings.json, and if you don't find it, just give me an empty table. So basically what this function does right here is it looks for this file. If it finds it, it will load it off of the disk, convert the contents into a table, and return the table to be stored in my settings. Now if the file does not exist, I have my load function return nil, because I like to use that as a false equivalent. So if it returns nil, what this statement is saying right here, do this or do this. So if the first part is nil, basically what will happen is an empty table will be assigned to my settings. Another extension that I added to table is a function called dump. Now I didn't write dump myself. I took it from somebody else's example and modified it. But basically what it does is it looks at the contents, the first level contents of the table. So if you have a table that's got tables in it, it looks at everything in the first level, but it doesn't dive deeper into the subtables. And what it does is it prints out what's in the names and what's in all of the fields in the table. So if you have a table where Bob, or you have a table where the field it has a name field, and in the name field is Bob, then it will print out Bob equals, or I'm sorry, name equals Bob, etc. You'll see this when I do it. So I print out, the reason I have this statement here is the first time we run it, it's going to print out that there's nothing in here. It's going to print out an empty table. Yeah, that's nice, Sergey. Thanks a lot. I was wondering while the laughing was going on. You guys think I can't see you laughing, but I can see you laughing. Very funny.
We're all snickering at the comments that are going on in the chat on the side.
You're killing me. You know, this is the problem. If you say something a year later, you go, I can't believe I just said
Now,
that.
I want to jump in right here. Now, I started using Ed's extension for the table about 6 months ago, and it has dramatically sped up a lot of my app development using the table load, the table save. I tend to use this table print _r over the table.dump. These are huge time savers in working with complex arrays and tables for more advanced apps. So if for no other reason, get the SSK for the table extensions. They just are such huge time savers.
Yeah, I just want to say, you don't need to use everything out of SSK. Just take the bits and pieces you want. But I encourage, pat myself on the back or whatever, but two functions I use all the time out of the table library are the dumper for printing out what's in the table, because I always forget, or I'm like, why is this not working? Oh, it's because the setting, the function's missing, or the setting isn't set on the table. Well, you don't have X-ray vision. You cannot see what's going on unless you look at the table. And the other function that he mentioned is the recursive print, also not my code. I took somebody else's recursive print and modified it to suit my needs.
And it works great.
I'm also going to
really simplifies things.
Also just want to chime in real quick, and this is slightly off topic, but I just want to point it out in case people who are watching, particularly more novice developers, because I feel like we sort of not glossed it over, but really quickly said, oh yeah, and here's this OR operator, which you can do. That's huge. I know for a lot of people, when they get started, their code is very needlessly bloated with lots of if-then statements checking if a value is nil. And I know for me, when you first discover that, you're like, oh my god, I can just save myself so much time and so many headaches. So if you are watching this and you are not using the OR operator in your code, go read about it, go check it out, because it's quick, it's very easy to pick up and start using and understand, but it's one of those things that it takes this much time to understand it, but it saves you just a boatload of trouble.